Welcome to my assembly instruction video on this leather 12 gauge shotgun shell carrier that will fit any belt. If you got here because the autoplay was on and you just stumbled on this video, check it out. See what you think of it. The pattern for this is available on my Etsy shop, which that will be down in the details for where you can purchase that. If you got here from buying the pattern, I absolutely do appreciate that as well. And we're just going over the build for this pattern. Now, this obviously will absolutely sell itself to hunters. It fits 12 gauge shells, 2 3/4 or larger, and it is perfect for yourself or a friend who likes to go hunting. But it's also great for a costume piece. Now, of course, I don't advise carrying live shells in a costume, but if you're going out for Halloween as a zombie apocalypse survivor, then you can easily make fake shells with some 3/4 inch dowel, red duct tape, and gold tape, and that will work absolutely perfect for your costume. Or if you're role-playing as a cleric of the light at your next D&D session, and you of course have to have your minor healing potion, that'll absolutely fit in here as well. Or at a Ren Fair as a rogue assassin and want to have poisons on hand, there you go. These absolutely fit in. I got these at like the dollar store. And it's also great for school or work. If you're the type of person who runs to get front row seats in Mr. Jones' chemistry class and want to have your note-taking at the ready, you can line this up with all your highlighters. Or if you're at work and you have millions of files to get through and you know you're going to need a lot of permanent markers, this is perfect for that as well. So it's not only for the hunter, but it's a great costume or work piece as well. And I'm going to show you how to build it. Okay, if you haven't used any of my patterns before, I do have a short video on just the general practices of using a pattern, but I kind of stick to the industry standard. If you've ever seen anybody else use a pattern, print it out. It's a PDF file. Print it out at 100% scale, actual size, and cut your pieces out. Tape them down, and all the holes and stitches are pre-measured, pre-marked, so you just punch out all your stitches, cut your pieces, and I'm gonna skip over all of that part and just go to the build itself. So the start of this video is assuming you have the pieces all cut, tooled, dyed, finished, everything like that. And this is just the assembly. All right, for this project, it's fairly simple. You have your 5 different pieces: your front, your backing, your shell stop, the central loop for the back, and then of course the loops for the shotgun shells themselves. Now, for the body, I recommend doing a total of around 8 to 10 ounces to get a nice solid piece. In my case, I'm using about a 7 to 8 ounce leather for the front piece, and then a 1 to 2 ounce for the backing to get that nice solid piece. The loops themselves, this does need to be about a 4 to 5 ounce leather. The measurements to fit the shells, if you went with anything smaller, the shells themselves would slide right out, and anything bigger and you'd have a real hard time getting them to slide into place. There will be 2 pieces on the pattern and you can choose which one you want to use. I'm going to build it with the one I labeled fancy, which does have to be 1 to 2 ounce leather, because you're actually going to roll this piece over and use a 2 millimeter leather cord in the center as your shell stop, so the shells can't slide all the way out. There is a simple one if you decide to go that way, and that one you can use anything from a 4 to a 10 ounce. That one, you want to be a little bit thicker. I don't think a 1 to 2 would work, but you don't need to be as precise on that one. And then for the backstop, I again just used the 4 to 5 ounce. That's just going to help hold it in the body to keep it from like bunching up on itself. Now, this entire project, even though I am using 3 different weights, the entire project can be done with 4 to 5 ounce leather. Like I said, the body, I recommend somewhere, the 8 to 10 ounce, and that's why I'm using 7 to 8 and 1 to 2 to get that. You could just as easily use 2 pieces of 4 to 5 ounce leather as, 1 piece as your front and 1 piece as your back to get that to be about the same. As with the shell stop, the fancy one, you really couldn't do with anything but 1 to 2, but the simple one, again, it's just a shell stop. It just sits across right here so the shells bump into it. So you can easily just use 4 to 5 ounce for that. And then again, this one does have to be 4 to 5 ounce. So you don't need a bunch of different weights or anything. You can easily just make it with a simple 4 to 5 across the board. All right, our first step is going to be putting the shell stop into place. Again, I'm using the fancy one, so I have the 1 to 2 ounce piece of leather, the main body here, and I have a bit of 2 millimeter leather cordage. I do recommend starting with it a little bit longer, and we'll trim it into size, once we get it attached and everything. You can do it without this, or if you want to use a piece of string, but this just gives it something nice and solid. I did this on another project, and I really like the way it looked on it. And this will be available shortly. But how this one works is it's going to roll over and sew to itself onto the body. And you get this nice fancy little look to it. If you do decide to just do the simple one, again, that's not a problem. Both of them, we're only going to start on this top row of stitches. On this one, it's going to fold over, and still just using that top row, just double. For now, again, just this top row of stitches here, and we're gonna start at this one and end, start at this one and end at this one. And you would just put it into place, sit on top there, and make your stitch line go all the way across. Not worried about these outside rows. When we stitch the backing on, that's when we'll come back and come around like this to finish them up and continue around the rest of the piece and everything. So if you're doing the simple one, just set it into place, start here, end here, and you're good. For this one, if you have these guys, I love these things. You don't need them, but they will make it that much easier. We're going to put this cordage right in the center here. And take your little needle piece and go through this first hole here. I'll come back to that. Go through that first hole here and through this first hole here. And then through that hole. And we can just pin that into place for right now. And while it's still loose, now we'll put this loop in. And then just kind of throw a couple more of those pins in or hold it into place, however you end up doing it is fine. Alright, once you got it pinned into place, you can see how it's folded over with the cord there running down the center. And just like these pins here, that's how you're gonna sew through all 3 stitch holes. So I'm gonna do a few stitches this way, and then I'm gonna come all the way across and get this sewed on. Alright, so I got some of the stitches going, a little less than halfway through, but that's all you gotta do. Just roll it over and sew through it. Now, if you notice, this does hang over just a little bit. That is by design. I'm going to, you'll have to clean up your edges at the end once everything is together. This will get trimmed at the end. And this entire row of stitches will be hidden from the backing. Once it gets lined, those stitches are going to be absolutely covered. So when you get done, if you just want to tie it off into a knot, that's fine. If you misjudge how much thread and you need to start again, you can again just tie it off. This row will be completely hidden by the backing. Alright, there's your shell stop right there. All sewed up. Like I said, this will be hidden from the back, so it doesn't look all that beautiful, but we got that sewed up, all set. Come in here and just clip off. Just clip off. There you go. Clip off your 2 ends. And I mean, that's in there. You can't even pull it. It's nice and snug, so you don't have to worry about tying it off or anything. Just get some better scissors. But there you go. All right, now I got that all done down here. I'm just gonna sew on the loops. Each one will have one extra hole at the top and the bottom. The way I'm going to do it is I'm going to do 2 back stitches on each side, just to give it that little bit of extra strength, but you really don't have to. You can just do a straight saddle stitch all the way up, and just like these ones, everything back here will be hidden by the backing. So you can just stitch it up and just tie your double knot right there and move on to the next one. But start on one side, you'll work your way down, start in the middle, work out, however you want to do it. Just put the loops on with one hole on top and one hole on bottom from the body. All right, I got the first one sewed here. Like I said, I just chose to do a double stitch on each side, give it that little extra strength right there. You don't have to do that at all. And I just tied it off here afterwards because the backing will cover and make everything look nice. And you just move down the line, kind of gently bending this into place. Mine is still kind of stiff, but once I get it sewn in, I will put a shell in place, and then with continued use, it'll kind of stretch out and round out a bit. If you have these guys, they might help quite a bit, so it's not fighting you the entire time. Just as before, you got the one hole on top and bottom, and just sew that into place. Alright, so you have all your belt loops in place already. You got these all finished up. If you find that your leather has shrunk or is still very stiff and everything, that you're having a hard time getting the shells in, just take a 3/4 dowel rod, a highlighter, permanent marker, whatever, and you can just kind of use this to stretch it back out, go through, it'll shape it a little bit, it'll loosen the fibers of the leather and everything, so your shotgun shells or whatever will be able to just slide in and out a lot easier. And then the final part, which I've already pinned it into place because I wanted to make sure it lined up and everything, and I didn't want to record that whole process. But the last process is sewing on your backing and your center belt loop. This goes right here in the center. The holes will line up with everything, and again, I pinned it into place. I think these are lifesavers personally, but that's just me. I'm gonna sew this in 2 threads. I'm gonna start here on one side, and I'm gonna come up and I'm going to loop, because you don't wanna forget these stitch holes here around your belt loops. So I'm gonna start here, I'm gonna make a full loop around like that, come up over, make the other loop over here and end it right here. And then I'm going to start another one and come back across the entire bottom and finish up where I started over here. So that's your final step, is just putting your back and your belt loop in place. Besides cleanup, you know, the final step will be cleaning up any overhang and stuff, because I did leave a little bit excess. That'll get cleaned up at the very end, and I'll finish my edges and everything. But That's it. Okay, I have finished up this build. We have our beautiful shotgun shell carrier all stitched up and ready to go. I got the back piece attached along with this center belt loop. That'll help keep it from bowing and keep it tight against your hip. Key points for finishing this up is, now you can start it anywhere and you can go around however you want to stitch it, but I started here, worked up top, made that loop right there, because these are important to keep your backing from lifting up, and it also gets support to your belt loops right there. So started there, made that loop, came across the top, incorporating this in as well, made this loop, and finished it with some back stitches right here. Pulled up a new piece of thread just so it wasn't so hard to manage having so much go through at once. New piece of thread starting right here and just went along the bottom. Like I said, this right here doesn't connect across, but we did sew the shell stop secure right there. Came across the bottom, around the other side, and because I need things to be symmetrical, I did my back stitching here so they're the same on both sides. Now, also, I went through and I trimmed off any of the excess. Like I said, there's some built in so that you can do that at the end and make everything flush. So I just trimmed off the excess of the backing and the shell stop. I slicked my edges, rebeveled, burnished, slicked, all that good stuff to finish up this project. I want to say thank you to everybody who's helped me with this, whether it was the design, the measuring, editing, all the works, all the good stuff. Thank you to you guys. Thank you to anybody who bought the pattern. That really helps out. I do have more projects in the works, related projects. A rifle sling. I started drawing up for a rifle sling recently, and also took measurements in a template for a stock sleeve, so that I'll have that as a universal lace-up stock sleeve with some, shell slots across that and everything. But those are on the way and coming up soon, so subscribe, like, do all that good stuff so you get notified when those patterns come out. Check out my Etsy. You can subscribe to that store too, or whatever you call it. Favorite the store, that's the word. You can favorite that store and it'll pop up every time I post anything, which will hopefully be a lot sooner than later. So again, thanks everybody. I appreciate it all, and good luck. Happy hunting, happy building, and have fun.